Hello and welcome to the Center for Victory podcast of Your Best Day Yet. Here at Center for Victory, we're here to help unlock, reinforce, and enrich relationships through professional and personal development. My name is Zack DelTurco. I'm an executive consultant here at Center for Victory. And today, it's a sad day because this is our last podcast for the book, The Life of Victory. Eric Guy's the author, best-selling author on Amazon. And we're going to be talking about putting into practice.
Right.
So what I found just in any book that we read, it's easy to read something, but the challenge comes when we start to try to apply that to our life. And I know for me personally, my biggest thing is can I take one thing from this book and apply it to my life today?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Let's go back to that, how do you apply this to your life?
Well, I think when you start off, one of the things that I started off the book was just with the question of are you crazy? And what I mean by that is, are you willing to go to be a little bit different?
Yeah.
Everybody has this just sense of being mediocre and all that. We were conditioned in fear. Will you take the next step and actually do something with it? And we find a lot of times, as you mentioned, we read a book, lots of great books out there, lots of great programs out there. But if you don't do anything with it, you have to take action. And if you get stuck just in that paradigm of where you're at, you're never going to move forward. I mean, if you take a look at, I think most of America has some kind of goal of losing some kind of weight. I mean, look how many diet programs and weight programs are out there, and most of them are pretty good. I mean, but the problem is, how do I put it into practice? How do I lose the weight? So whether it's parenting, whether it's dieting, whether it's exercise, whether it's eating right, whether it's just work and focusing on work, whatever it might be, you have to put it into action. So you have to be just a little bit abnormal to do things differently. You have to be out of the norm, and that's what I really mean by that. And taking it to the next level was put it into practice. Take those things, what we talked about in the last chapter, take all those things and really put it into practice, put some effort into it, and know that it's going to be a little bit different. Know that people are going to criticize you. Know that people are going to tell you that you can't do it. Know sometimes you're going to tell yourself you can't do it. But the ones that beat the odds don't do things the same.
Yeah.
You have to be a little bit outside the box, a little bit crazy to do things differently.
And I like how you started the book talking about that idea, are you crazy? And you finished the book with kind of that same question, are you crazy? And to me, that symbolizes, man, this is a year-round read. So you read it one year, you read it the next year. This is a book you should have on your calendar every single year because it starts and finishes the same. So you can literally keep reading this book and get so much gold out of it. But it all depends, It's these principles and this way of life is not easy.
Right.
Just like we mentioned earlier, it's easy to talk about something when you have to put some sweat equity into something and actually have to put your foot down, put a stake in the ground, say, you know what, I need a change. So help me and help us understand, what are some ways that we can apply choosing love over fear?
Okay, so with this one, I'm actually going to flip it on you a little bit, all right? I'm actually going to turn the question around. Since you read the book, and you've had a lot of great success with it since I've known you, what have you taken after you've read the book? What are some practical steps that you have taken, and what are the results? Like, tell people, hey, look, I read it, I did this, I put it into practice, and this is what happened.
Yeah.
So
I think the biggest piece for me was just that awareness.
Okay.
Reading through those chapters, I think the chapter that really stood out to me is what's your story? And growing up, I had a story that was kind of like the American dream story, and to a point in my junior, senior year where crap, I call it crap hits the fan, and my life just blew up. And I just remember that was my story. Not the 17 years leading up to that point. My story was a 6 to 8 month span of my life. I'm 20 some years old now, 28, 29, can't remember, but I really can't. But my story leading up to that point, like I forgot all about the great memories, all about the blessings that I've had, but I made that 6 to 8 months my story. And after reading this book, I said, you know what, I can either continue to allow that to be my story and dwell in the past and just look it through the rearview mirror of my life, or I could say, you know what, I could either be a victim or a victor. Victims will stay in the past and live in that 6 to 8 months of their biggest pain, whatever it may be. But you can say, you know what, I'm going to be a victor, and I'm going to make a difference in somebody's life. And, you know, that's really what that helped me understand is, okay, I could either say, you know, it's so-and-so's fault, or I could take responsibility and say, it's time that I change my story. So that was my biggest takeaway, is flipping the script, changing my mindset, but just having that awareness around what my story is and how there's power in your story.
And the one thing that I wanted to ask you is a little off what we were talking about, but not much. But I know the answer to this, so I want you to let our audience know. The results that you had after reading the book, were they visible?
Yeah. My relationship with this person, that I'm not going to get specific in, has changed dramatically. Yeah.
And just, you know, I can see, I've heard other people that, you know, because we know the same people, and I've heard them say just like, and it's not that you were like down and out before, right? But it just, it's a little, you went a notch higher.
Yeah.
And, you know, the excitement that you have, you know, the kind of the clarity that you have too, and the focus, the more of the focus that you have now, it just is really neat to see. So I knew the answer to that question. I just wanted you to share it with our audience, because, you know, it is visible. I mean, you can really see it in the way you.
I mean, I'm just positive. I'm like more positive than I've ever been. It's not.
Right.
I'm positive, like, oh, life's great, but just my outlook on life.
Yeah.
The people I'm surrounding myself with now has changed dramatically after actually applying what I read to this book. And it's a short read. I mean, I call it the toilet read. You can literally read the book on the toilet 5 minutes a day.
Is that a compliment?
That is a compliment, because if it was any thicker, this book would have never been read by me.
Right.
So it's a short read, but there's so much good stuff in it.
Oh, very good, very good. Let's just move on from that. That's the
Come
best
on, y'all know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like,
and,
I don't want to read fluff. That's what I mean. I don't want somebody that just is going to fill pages to make sure they have 250 pages. Like, put good content in it and get to the point and watch people's lives change.
So that's good stuff. And so we're going to wrap up this podcast a little bit different than other ones. I'm actually going to wrap it up, and I want to share a poem that we utilize a lot in a lot of the endings of our trainings at CFV, especially around personal development with people. And it's actually in the last page of the book here. So this will be the last thing you read if you get the book. Again, it's on Amazon. You can download it on your Kindle as well. But what it says, it's the poem, it's called The Victor, and it says, if you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win but think you can't, it's almost certain you won't. If you think you'll lose, you're lost. For out of the world, we find success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you're outclassed, you are. You've got to be sure of yourself before you ever win the prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but sooner or later the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. So that's very powerful. If you want to copy that, it's in, like I said, it's on page 87 of the book here. But just some action steps as we wrap up this podcast. Just remember, we're all really called to live in a spirit of joy, happiness, and love. As Zach shared, it is definitely visible. I believe we're all called to be divine, to be well, and to live a life of victory. So with that being said, we're going to wrap up for today.
Well, Eric, I just want to take a second and say thank you for taking time out of your day to giving me, but also the listeners, an opportunity just to hear your heart behind the Life of Victory. I know for those of you who love this book, Eric actually has 2 more books coming out. They're in the editing process, but you can get the Life of Victory at Amazon. You can also get it at our website at centerforvictory.com. Also follow us on social media. Leave messages, leave likes. Tell us what was your favorite part of this book. But I want to thank you guys so much for taking this journey with us, 9-week journey. But we want to finish with this. Eric, why don't you finish us off with our last quote of the
Right. So just remember, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, make this your best day yet. Catch you soon.